So, what does it really mean for a society to be free? Is it just no rules at all? Or is it something way deeper? Well, we're going to dive into that and we're going to look at some ancient legal philosophy to figure out what the true foundation of freedom really is. When we think of a blessing, we usually think of some kind of reward for doing something good. But what if the greatest blessing of all isn't a reward? What if it's the system itself? That's the core idea here. The real gift, the ultimate blessing, is having a society built on a foundation of law that every single person can get to and understand. Okay, so this sets up a huge clash, right? Two totally different ways of seeing the world. In one corner, you've got this vision where law is objective. It's public. Everybody knows it. And everyone, from the person on the street all the way up to the king, is subject to it. Your freedom comes from being under this shared law. But then you've got the other vision. In that world, the law is just whatever the ruler feels like that day. It's secret, it's arbitrary, and its whole purpose is to give the ruler freedom from the very law that binds everybody else. So how do you actually build a society like that? Well, let's look at the very first major attempt to put this whole philosophy into practice. You could almost call it the world's first big judicial reform, and it was led by Moses. And this was a wildly revolutionary idea for its time. I mean, think about it. The plan was, the law isn't going to be some secret scroll locked away, known only to a handful of priests and lawyers. No way. It was supposed to be carved into giant boulders, out in public, for everyone to read. The goal here was total, radical transparency. This way, every citizen knows their rights, they know their obligations, there are no nasty surprises in court. And maybe most importantly, you're not dependent on some powerful legal elite to tell you what the law is. It completely democratizes the law. Okay, but this leads to a really interesting puzzle. The Torah actually says you should appoint a king. It's a commandment, so if it's part of the plan, why was it such a disaster, a monumental failure, when the people finally went to the prophet Samuel and asked for one? What went wrong? Well, the answer is so subtle, but so important. It wasn't that they asked for a king. It was how they asked for one. The exact words they used showed that they were totally rejecting the entire system of law that was designed to make them free. And here it is, the key phrase, to judge us. They said, make us a king to judge us. See, they didn't just ask for a political leader or military commander, they asked for someone to judge us, a model they saw in all the other nations around them. And that little phrase, that's the whole problem right there. Because when they asked for a king to judge, what they were really saying was, we want to trade our constitution, this objective public law, for the random subjective whims of one guy. They were asking to tear down that whole system of freedom under the law and replace it with a system where one man is the law. This was a rejection of God as the ultimate source of law. Let's just break that down, because the difference is night and day. In the Torah's vision, a king is basically an administrator. He serves the people, he leads the military, but he is always subject to the law, just like every other citizen. He's even supposed to carry a copy of the Constitution with him at all times. But in the pagan vision, the one they asked for, the king is the supreme judge. His personal discretion is the ultimate source of law. Now, this whole fight to keep the law accessible and objective, it wasn't a one-and-done kind of thing. History tends to repeat itself, right? Centuries later, the same problem popped up again, and it took another monumental judicial reform to fix it, this time from the philosopher Maimonides. So what happened? Well, over hundreds of years, the law got complicated. It became buried under just mountains of commentary, arguments, and debates. It was like a simple path that got overgrown with a dense, thorny forest. It became this huge, intimidating thing that only the most dedicated scholars could even begin to navigate. Once again, the law belonged to a legal elite, and the average person was locked out. So Maimonides steps in and takes on this unbelievable task. He decides he's going to go through that entire massive body of legal work and basically untangle it. His goal was to write a new code, the Mishneh Torah, in plain, concise language, presenting only the bottom-line rulings. No arguments, no back and forth. He wanted to strip away all the complex debates so that, once again, the law could be open and understandable to everyone, young and old alike. This all leads us to a final, really powerful idea. It's one that takes a very familiar religious concept and completely reframes it as a profound statement about law and society. First, we need to get one key term straight. The word is Elohim.
Now, it's often translated as God, but its core meaning is actually supreme legal authority. In fact, in the Torah, the term is sometimes used to refer to human judges or even the Supreme Court. It represents the ultimate source of law in a society, where the buck stops.
Okay, so if Elohim means supreme legal authority, what does that famous commandment not to worship other gods really mean on a political and legal level? It means choosing to be subject to a legal system that isn't your own. It's a statement of ultimate allegiance. To worship a foreign god is to voluntarily place yourself under a foreign legal authority, rejecting the constitution of your own free society. True worship, in this sense, is living within and upholding the legal system designed to create that freedom. And that leaves us with a big question to think about for our own lives, right? In our modern world, with all its constitutions, courts, and international laws, what is the ultimate legal authority, the Elohim, that governs your society today? And more importantly, is it one that ensures freedom under the law for everyone?